cheap. this. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to rumble?
Howdy, howdy, howdy. We'll have a picture up momentarily. I'm a little slow on the button tonight. How's everybody doing? We got a few people over here in the chat. Let's see. Dave BNSF. Dave's Hobbies and Things. And I believe Nancy, Spirit of Colorado Railroad's been in before, but it's might have been a little while. How you doing, Nancy? We got a bunch out there watching. How you doing, Tim?
Oh, not too bad.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what's going on with my webcam, why it keeps dropping out now.
Yeah. Yeah, Joey just popped in 3292. What's happening, guys and gals? Alrighty. It's showtime. Hey, Jerry. How you doing? Hadn't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing alright. So, what do you model, Nancy? HO, N scale, S scale? Rideables? Uh-oh. Well, hope everything works out just fine for you, Jerry. Nancy's an N-scaler. Good for you. And she spaced it on the Durango and Silverton Railroad. You'll have to go check out your website. Is it under this name here, Spirit of Colorado Railroad? You're ready? If you don't know it yet or not, you've got a lot of friends in here that are in scalers.
Yep. Old Ron Marsh.
Well, just ones that are in the chat right now. A lot of them are in scalers. Get my camera turned on. Who? I should have shaved today. Sam Cole. Hey, what's up with you? School's about to start, I know. Well, yeah, Nancy was saying that, she's been told N scale's the dark side. Only in joking. All right, Sam, then don't talk about it. We don't care. Hey, Dave. Hey, Container Man 68. Container Man said even though he's a die-hard HO modeler, He has recently bought in scale. Butch, how you doing? Don't worry, Sam. Another 10, 15 years, you'll be reliving them. Oh.
And he's pop over here and pop in the panel.
Yeah. Hey, John, how you doing? John D just popped in. All right, Sam, all you got to do is go to YouTube where we posted the show at. It's got the link right there for you. Dave, that's not exactly right. He's always home. Just got 18 wheels under it. Hey, Jason. How you doing?
Oh, doing all right.
Yeah, doing all right, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
How was the show?
It was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Did you meet up with Bob?
Yeah, met up with Bob.
Interesting character, isn't he?
I got a bone to pick with him. He didn't tell me he was going to go to the K10.
The K10.
Yeah, K10 hobbies.
Yeah, that one I'm always talking about over there, Maryville.
Yep.
Hey, Lord, how you doing? Here comes Andy finally. He must have been in a hot debate over in the other room. Did you get that?
I got one of them.
Did you get that at the show?
Yeah, I took the back wheels off already. I'm gonna put it on a like timber saddle on the car.
Oh, okay.
Then I'm gonna strap it down, and I got the tires. They're gonna be setting on the flat car, tied down too. But yeah, well, I'm getting ready to work on that pretty quick here.
Yeah.
I went and got basswood earlier today.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael just got in.
Yeah. I got to meet up with Chris Palmeiras. Talked to him for a little bit at the show.
There's Sam.
Yep. But yeah, it was a pretty cool show. Got to go to one clinic doing about grain production and transportation.
Oh, okay.
So that was really interesting clinic I went to. Next year, I'm thinking about I'm going to do the hands-on passenger car deal workshop. So
Okay.
We'll see.
Sam,
Yeah.
you got a piece of hair right up here. It's out of place. He didn't notice. I've been sitting here. He do his hair. I've been doing my hair.
Yep.
Of course.
Get that cowlick going up there. Yeah. Get the flip up.
Yep.
Yeah. So how y'all doing?
Oh, not too bad myself.
Fat and happy, brother. Fat and happy.
Yeah. Container man's wanting to know what kind of combine that is.
That one is the John Deere.
Maximizer 9510.
9510. Yep.
Boy, he's good.
Yeah. I just looked over and I saw the box and it says, "Yep, 9510."
Well,
I still
Nancy
got one.
has asked, hey, Sam, how far have you come on your layout? Probably about another 7 inches.
Well, yeah, I can show you quick if I can turn the mic around or camera
Oh,
around.
jeez, man. Yeah, your volume just went wacky.
Oh, it always does that.
Yeah.
Wait, did it just change? Hold on. I don't know how to work this thing. Save.
All right, while you're doing that, Joe G, how you doing?
Why is that? Okay, I can't figure out how to change. It doesn't want to change the camera.
Probably not seeing it. You sure the camera's activated and plugged in?
I'm using the camera that's on my computer. There we go. Okay. So it hasn't been like 7 inches, more like 5, but we're getting there. So, okay, everything is reversed now. But
No, just on your end.
That way? Okay. So this is kind of everything I've done. I used to just have these 2 turnouts in here, and I have now extended this whole side and got that double slip in and these turnouts and all the way over around the turntable and back to the bridge that I still need to fix because I can't figure out how to do that yet. But I still need to fix that. And then we can go back over here. And I went all the way down and around this corner over here and to this turnout here. And that's where I ran out of turnouts and I ran out of glue and I ran out of money. So that's currently where I'm at.
Okay. Well, you're coming along.
Yeah. Not. I mean, I could maybe go farther, but glue is the only thing that's holding me back. I just haven't had time to get to the store and get glue and stuff like that. So
I was fixed to say, aren't you driving?
yes, I am driving. I have been since January.
I'm sure
But-
you've passed a lot of Walmarts. All you gotta do is stop and run in real quick.
I know.
Yeah, but you're
But-
too busy chasing those girls in the convertible ahead of you.
No, no. See, here's where you're wrong.
Did that.
That's where you're wrong because that is not true, and that's not how anything works here at all. They want nothing to do with me. Be surprised.
Uh-huh.
But I am doing this. Hold on, I'll be right back. This is cool, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So, I was on Rock Island, and I saw this weird looking diesel that didn't have a cab on it. And I knew what they were. They're called slugs. And I wondered if like anyone made one, like and mass produced them, and they don't. So I decided to make one. So that's kind of where I'm at
Oh, okay.
right now. I just kind of I took an
Is
This
it
is
a
like
B
a-
unit? There's two different types of cabless diesels. Kind of. There's actually probably a whole lot more than that, but there's two primaries. There's a B unit. That's a powered unit. It has a prime mover. It has traction motors. It's everything except a cab and MU cables to control. Then there's slugs. Slug does not have a prime mover in it. It may or may not have traction motors in it, but a slug, depending on the railroad, so the Southern Railroad, for example, they took a lot of locomotives, cut the tops off of them, and filled them full of concrete. So they were just a big weight to give them some tractive effort, to give them some braking power, and to give them some mass to make switching moves of heavy trains. So at least from a Southern perspective, from a Southern Railroad perspective, a Norfolk Southern perspective, a slug is a big old block of concrete on wheels, and then there's B units that are effectively powered, just regular locomotives without a cab.
Right. This was, I looked up somewhere that it was, it didn't have its own like power source, but it was feeding off of the power supply from another locomotive that it was attached to.
Yeah, but it has traction motors in the trucks, but uses the prime mover of the primary.
Right. That's the one that I'm modeling, kind of. But I took a lifelike GP38 or something like that, GP40 something, and I just literally cut the roof and the cab off, and that's where I'm at right now. But it won't be this. Usually the chassis system is like a really nice paint scheme, but this is like this kind of ugly, faded orange. So it won't be this. It'll be Union Pacific if I can figure out how to paint stuff. But that's what I've been doing.
Well, that's good. The burning question now. Soldering iron.
Ooh, okay. So, okay. All right. Well, here's the original one. I guess it got really hot, and I guess the tips aren't very strong, and after a while, like it became really bad. Like it got bent slightly, and then I dropped it once, and it just like bent it completely.
And you filled it up with water too.
Yeah, that too. But I got a new one, and it's pretty cool. Got it at my K&K Hardware. It's the same thing, but it's not burned.
Yeah.
And it works really well. It got so hot once that it turned purple. Yeah. So I need to make sure I don't touch this one, which I've done good about so far. But I have this glove that I wear in my left hand, so I call it the Michael Jackson glove, and that's what I wear when I'm like soldering stuff together so I don't burn my fingertips off.
Okay. Ralph, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, that's good.
There's Sam. Haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah. He was showing
back.
us this brand new soldering iron.
Yeah, new soldering iron. Yeah,
Wow.
it's nice and shiny.
Take care of it.
Yeah, I will. It's expensive. You know how much $10 is? It's a lot.
Don't that sound familiar, Ralph?
It does.
We won't talk about how long ago, but
Exactly.
All right, so changing subjects again. I did this. This is one of my newest additions. It is an SD9.
Nice.
It's a lifelike, but it's been completely gutted, and it has a TCS lab motor in it, so it's pretty cool. But there's a slight problem with it.
here we go.
Well, it runs fine and it sounds great, but when I run it, I see smoke coming out of it.
That's not good.
Yeah, I figured it wasn't, but
Have you taken the shell off?
I don't know how. He said when he did it, he said that the shell tabs were broken when he was doing it. So I don't know how to take it off. I know that there. Oh,
I hope he didn't glue. I hope he didn't glue it on.
I don't think he did. He just said, "Be careful." So okay, but it literally when you have a Broadway limited steam engine, it's like wisps of smoke, and it kind of almost smells like smoke fluid. So
that one's supposed to have a smoke generator.
So do your homework. Get on the Google machine on the interweb, or whatever you want to call it, and check out Atlas GP9. Does it have a smoke unit? Before you pull it apart.
This one is old. This is an old lifelike, just not.
Well, then it does not have a smoke unit.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can buy smoke units. Just buy them and put them in stuff. I don't think you can do that.
Well, you can, but there's not enough room to do that. Where's the smoke actually coming from? Where's it coming out?
Everywhere.
Then it's not a smoke unit.
I mean, it's coming out of this. Some of it looks like it's coming out of these stacks, but there's no hole for it. And I see it coming out of here and kind of the cab because there's no window there. So
there's two priorities. You either need to take the shell off and investigate it right away, or if you want to delay that action, upgrade the fire insurance on your home insurance policy, and then you can delay that action. But otherwise, get the shell off with the quickness.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's on fire.
No.
Because it would be.
But it's the wires that are smoking. No.
If it's smoke and fire, go pretty hand in hand. So if it's not fully on fire yet, the fact that it smokes,
it's getting close.
Get a good insurance policy.
Right. But here's the thing though, because it's not warm to the touch.
And it shouldn't be. The shell wouldn't be.
No.
Right.
Smoke is coming from inside of it, inside of metal components. Now, maybe the underside would be, but it's probably even insulated from heat because it's insulated electronically. Now,
you have to figure out exactly where that smoke's coming from.
That's
is the smoke coming from the motor, or is it coming from the decoder?
I think it's the decoder.
If
I
that's
just-
if it's well,
If it's a decoder, then are you running it on DC only?
No, I'm running it on DCC, and
If
it's
the decoder was smoking, it would be that the DCC decoder would likely not continue to function.
Yep.
But the motor could smoke for a while before it finally gave up the ghost completely or burnt the house down, whichever came first. But
he may have over lubricated it, and there's oil where the contacts are.
That's right. I would be worried about finding out what that was, because you run the train one time and then go upstairs, and who's to say that stopped acting? But you need to Google online how to remove the shell and see if it removes the traditional way. If it doesn't, then maybe they glued it on, and if that's the case, you need to get something in there and slowly work the glue loose.
Well, since he said earlier that it had kind of the smell of a smoke generator, then it could be that it was over lubricated, and that's why he's smelling burning off.
or oils from his hand or something.
No, oil from his hand would not smoke.
Yeah, no.
That's an oily person left that much oil in thickness. And if it's over lubricated, that could smoke for some period of time. However, you need to lubricate gears, not motors. So electrical parts that could possibly heat up the oil or lubrication grease to the point that it could smoke. It's not impossible that lubrication grease or oil is in the wrong place, that somebody put it in the motor instead of in the gears. But gears don't get hot. That's where you put lubrication grease. Electrical parts get hot like motors. They don't need to be lubricated.
Yeah, at least though, if he was that oil, he's one slick dude.
Absolutely. Yeah, don't try to play King of the Hill, or don't try to play King of the Mountain with him. He'll always get away. So, all right.
Well, we ran a train today on John's layout.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it went about 17 feet and died. It couldn't get past the turnouts.
It happens on my layout, but only with this one.
Well, I know what John's problem is. I only hooked up 1 feeder wire, and it was in between the two turnouts.
Oh yeah, your turnouts aren't carrying past the turnouts. So
No.
you gotta have a feed on both sides.
Yeah, because it's those insulated frogs.
Well, if you build a turnout yourself, no matter what, you're going to be insulated one side to the other.
Yeah.
Commercial turnouts have some wires in there, but in your case,
No.
now you could easily jump around that. You could take the outside stock rail and tie it back to the rail exiting the point on the far side. You could jump those two together across that 2 or 3 inches. That solves your problem.
Yeah.
That's a 2-inch piece of wire that would pass the turnout by.
Yeah.
Well, I have like a thing. Yeah, I only have one set of feeders that's actually connected, and it's right behind the camera, and I can still run behind me. They go all the way around.
Yeah, but you're using commercial turnouts, and like Andy said, they put wires in those to help jump the power.
Oh, you use handmade?
Yeah, I do fast tracks, so the frog's insulated. There is no power going across there.
Yeah, and you could do the same thing that the commercial turnout does by putting that couple-inch wire on there or something. But
Marty, we can't go faster. We still have to go over and grab it and pull it back to where the power is. Yeah, because I got to do a little work on that lift out. Get those rails better aligned. And then we'll start hooking up the feeders. At least get them a train running on the main line. But like I was telling Tim before we started the show, I get over, he's got his tablet in his hand, and he's got a printout on a piece of paper. And he says, yeah, I've been looking at this and thinking about it. He said, I was wondering if we could take some of the stuff off of this layout and put it on mine. I said, what kind of stuff are you talking about? Well, maybe the yard. Yeah, maybe some of these side tracks and stuff. I'm going, John, look at your printout of your layout. You have a 17-foot long pass-through yard that's, 5 tracks. The one you printed out is a stub in that goes into another room. You don't have another room you can go into. And you've got all kinds of sidings all the way around that layout. Well, I thought maybe we could add a few more. I said, no. I'm having to build 40 turnouts just for that layout. I'm not building anymore.
So just his yard is 17 feet?
Yeah. Well, that's at the longest part, where you come in. That's where you basically have your arrival and departure tracks.
My whole layout is 17 feet.
Yeah.
Like, I was like going around like thinking my layout was like at least some decent size, and then this guy I was talking to yesterday, he's like, "Oh yeah, mine's by 60 feet," and I was like, "All right."
Oh, you got a decent sized layout there. Just that John in his house, this old farmhouse, been added on to quite a bit, and he's got 2 rooms upstairs in a single-story house. It's attic rooms. And this one room is 10 feet wide, but it's 31 feet long. So his layout's 10 feet wide by like 26 feet. It's around the wall and a peninsula.
Yeah, Sam, don't sell yourself short, man.
Yeah. Oh, you got a nice one. I mean, down here in my basement, or my son's basement anyway, I've got a place, if I can ever get it cleaned out and get everything finished up in there, I'll be able to run about a 10 by 16, I'll do around the wall and probably have a peninsula coming out from one corner. They'll come out, turn, and go down the middle, something like that.
I always thought that if I got bored, I'd just build up and do like a second layer.
Yeah, you can do that.
But since I'm so short that I can't like reach it, I wouldn't be able to reach it. I'd be like eye level with it and need a ladder.
Yeah. Andy will loan you his steps too.
Which one? My layout's eye level and above eye level. So I'm a fine connoisseur of step stools. I got a bunch of them. Not to mention I'm also a 5'6", so I'm a fine connoisseur of step stools already.
And you're a fine connoisseur of tripods too.
I do love tripods.
But he doesn't have any cameras to put them on.
Now I got all kinds of cameras now.
Just train layouts.
You've got all kinds of cameras now.
How many cameras you want? Plenty of cameras.
Can I ask you guys a question now?
Yes.
Well, it's mainly Ralph and Andy we were talking about. I'm redoing part of my layout. Well, it's just the exit to the helix. So I wanted to show Ralph what I came up with, and my question will be, what about the 4 tracks up here? How do they, like, they just dead end, or?
No, I've got a drawing. I
You
started
can
drawing that.
you can put them into a ladder again and go out the other way.
I would have the main lines, the 2 main lines, and the arrival departure tracks directly accessible off from the helix. So you come off the helix, and you have the ladder that goes into you have the main line switch, and then from the second main line, you go into the 2 arrival departure. And then the other yard tracks could just, all they need is a ladder on them that connects to a lead headed out the other direction, and then hook those 2 together with the crossover. That way you don't lose so much yard length.
And in plain English, that would be?
Okay, what I was saying earlier was just tie into the right track and let the others do their thing. If you really have to get over to the other 2 blue ones, then put in some turnouts. But the 2 top blue ones are your main line, correct?
The 2 from the right.
The 2 from the right are the main
So
line.
if you're going from the right, number
Okay,
1, 2 would be the main. The 3 would be like that bypass.
Yep.
Put your cursor on it, Lloyd, so we know exactly which tracks you're talking about.
Okay.
There you go.
So this is the main, second main, bypass. So
what's a bypass track used for? What do you do with it?
I don't know.
Don't start, Andy. He's got a bypass track.
Andy, you're probably standing on the track somewhere, so they got to bypass you.
That's what your main line track. If you just go straight through the yard on the main line, you're bypassing. What you need is arrival departure tracks. Main line, arrival departure, classification.
That's what that is. That's what that is.
Okay. Well, then
So-
that's a totally different setup for how to get to it.
So in other words, would you go from here to there and to there and to there, like
Yes.
the ladder?
A separate
ladder,
line. So those are your classification tracks. So you need to be able to. Your yard crew needs to be able to switch those. So you need a ladder on those 4 tracks, independent from the main lines and the arrival departure. If it were me, I would. Yeah, that's probably what I would do. And then at the end of that classification ladder, hook it into the arrival departure. That way, when a train comes up the helix, goes into the 3rd track, the arrival departure, instead of staying on one of the main lines and bypassing, it goes into the arrival departure, cuts the power. Then cuts the power off, it does whatever it does, or whatever. Your yard crew then can come off the yard ladder, pick up the cars off the arrival departure track, and pull them so that they can put them into the classification. And if they have additional cars to add back to that train, a block of cars, they would grab those off the classification track and shove them into the arrival departure in order to add them to an existing train or to build a train.
Okay, so here's a stupid question. So you've got a switcher that's coming down. Would he be able to go back up and go into, let's say, the 3rd blue line?
I was just going to get into that. You've got them both coming to your helix line. Your 2 main lines should the far right one. No, far right. That one there should be your arrival departure.
Wow.
The other because then the other 2 are main line, and they go right past his helix and into the rest of the layout.
Okay, so with that being the case, then so when a train arrives on that far track, your yard crew has to cross 2 mainline tracks to get their cut of cars. Right? I'm just following the logic through. If you put arrival departure away from the yard, then your train comes in and has a block of 10 cars that need to be taken off by the yard crew. You have to cross both main lines to get to that arrival departure track.
Okay, but the thing is, my point is the 3 blue lines should not all be connected to the helix.
Okay.
So basically, yeah, okay. But if I'm going back to the original plan, remember that this was a bypass main,
Yeah.
and they were all coming from
So
two mains here.
the first two, the right and the middle one can still be main.
Yeah.
All you need is to take them off that arrival track, and where was it? If you're just going like that, you can have another turnout from a little further back going into the middle track, into your main instead of your arrival track.
Okay.
In which direction?
Would you do something like this?
If that's your yard, yes.
Okay, so if you do that, when a train comes up from the helix and needs its block of cars cut off from it, where does it go?
Well, that's the main line.
This is the only, we're not talking about any complex operations. The most basic operation you have. A train comes up the helix to have cars cut off from it at the yard. What track does it go to so the yard crew can get to it?
Okay. If he's going straight through, let's say he's coming from Ottawa, so he's going straight through to Montreal, so he's going all around the layout. He would be on the first line. If he's dropping off cars, he'll go on the second one, and then the yard master will take whatever it has to do and put it into the yard. No?
Okay. How? That's exactly the question I'm challenging. Now, that's exactly the way that I would encourage anybody to think about operation. What's the task? Now, follow it logically through. The train pulls in. Now, how does the yard crew get a locomotive onto that track? And then that's how to think about your track work. What tracks are required to get you where you've got to get? So in this case, you've got to be able to come up from the helix, get into a proper track where you can stop, and the yard crew also has to be able to get to that track.
Well, currently on that track there, coming off of the helix, there's a turnout there that isn't being used for anything.
No, it's just there. It was. Forget it. It's not there.
This is planning, Sam.
Yeah. Well, if you put that turnout in there, then you can have that jump over to the yard, and that's the track you'd take to get cars to the yard. Or am I just
the arrival and departure track is the fourth one. If we're keeping everything as is.
So what's the fifth one?
The fifth and the sixth are the sorting track. And the last one is the runaround sorting.
Oh, no, I meant going the other way. I didn't realize you were...
The 2 white lines.
2 white lines are main.
Yeah. So now, this would be white, this would be white, this would be yellow. And then you'd have your arrival track, which would be number 4. And if we look at the original plan, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'd be coming off the main line. So we have to arrive from the main line onto the fourth track. Okay, so what I'm saying is that tracks 1, 2, 3 from the left could be all by themselves.
Yeah.
But number 4, 5, 6, 7 should all come from the helix.
No. You only need 1 coming from the helix, and the other 2 will continue on with the other part of the yard and main line. So if your arrival is on the left-hand side of the main, and you have a runaround on the right-hand side of the other main, that's your runaround. You can tie your helix into that. And if you really wanted to get onto the main, you can throw a turnout in there to take you onto the main. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So you leave that tied the way it is going into the runaround track. So the second track, which is the blue track, would be main. The next black one would be main. And if you're going to be coming off the helix and you wanted to go to Montreal, you would have a turnout doing what it does now onto the main instead of the runaround, which is already there. You got your turnout there. No, that's taking it to the wrong main.
Okay. So where does... So what you're saying is the third track is the main, right?
Yep.
So where is that main connected to?
We connected to the main beyond the helix to the left. It goes down through that system. You have a ladder there. Your 2-track main comes from was it Hawkesbury to the left?
Yeah, we're coming here from Ottawa.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Beyond, more to the left.
You mean this?
This. You have
No,
two main.
that's a dead track.
But don't you have 2 main lines coming from there going into those 2 mains?
Yes, I had 2 mains going this way. But now there's nothing here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Make sure those 2 mains stay the way they are.
Okay, so in other words, it would be like this. Those are the 2 mains.
If that's the way you make the mains, I don't see why you can't have that runaround the way it was, the first track. Andy disagrees. You already said you have your arrival track on number 4.
Yeah, number 4 is departure. So where does that one have to be connected?
It has to be tied into one of the main lines.
Okay, so basically the first 4 are connected to the line that's coming out of the helix.
No. I don't think they should have to be.
But how are you going to connect them to the main?
Go back and look at your drawing that you have, the original.
See those 2 lines?
Yeah.
Okay, but now this is cut off. There's no access here.
What do you mean there's no access to what?
I mean, this line doesn't exist anymore, and this line doesn't exist anymore.
On the drawing? Are you taking it out?
Yeah, I'm taking those 2 tracks out.
I would leave them.
But I can't, because if you're leaving Hawkesbury and going towards Montreal, then how come you're going back into Hawkesbury? You can't. It's like once you're leaving Hawkesbury, you're going east. And once you reach here, you're back to west. So that's why I'm cutting everything here. And whatever's going east is going into Montreal. And whatever is coming from here is going on the second line. It's like it's going to be like an end to end, like from here to here. Like it goes around and it's like it stops.
Kind of a point-to-point thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that, but I personally don't see. I wouldn't do it. I would still leave that connected. You may not use it, but still have it connected.
But the thing is, I don't want to use it because the line that's going to come from the inside of the helix, that's going to come around, that's the one that's coming from Ottawa and has to hook up to the Hawkesbury yard. And it has to connect to.
Which is what you were doing. You're going into that yellow line.
Exactly.
And further on, it's going into a main, that yellow line. So you're still getting into the yard.
You just out of the yellow, all you're doing is going by the yard.
And then coming back.
Yeah, I mean, you could go past it and back up into it, I suppose.
That's what I said. You go past
But he could already do that with his current track play without making any changes at all. Which I still don't understand.
That's my point here. Tie into the runaround track and leave everything else the way it is. If you really have to get to a main quickly, then that turnout you've got there now will suffice, but bring your two lines straight down the way they were before. Your two main lines. And that yard, the black lines, and that yard the way it was.
As I said when we started talking about this initially, the key is to define your motivation first. If your motivation is to make it operational and linear, like the prototype, then that's a totally different. Then you want a totally different thing than if all you're doing is, if you're just running trades and you're trying to do trade from here to there for the sake of running trades. That's a very different motivation, and it will end up with a very different set of choices. If you want it to be operational, then coming off the helix, you need both main lines and arrival departure immediately off. If it's about operations.
Ari's saying a double crossover, a train length up, and basically he does have that already in the layout. It's not a double crossover; it's a single. But I mean, it goes over and then comes back.
You mean on the other end of the yard? You're saying?
On the top end of the yard.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying but the problem is again, if the motivation is operational, then his yard is a stub-ended yard. It happens to be double-ended, but you can't do anything on the far end of it being double-ended. It operates like a stub-ended yard. You're backing into it and pulling out of it. Right? That's what I'm saying. Motivation is key. What your motivation defines what you got to do. If your motivation is about creating prototypical operations, then you have to be able to come off the helix into both of the main lines, which is obvious. That's just running. But then you also need to be able to get into the arrival departure tracks. In theory, with that many yard tracks, you'd think you'd have two main lines, two arrival departure, and whatever remaining as class tracks or classification tracks.
Well, I thought it was going to be a simple question. I'm coming out. I've got one track coming out of the helix, and now I need to enter the Hawkesbury yard. Forget about the rest. I've got one track that's coming out, and I got to enter here. My question was, how do I connect to all this that's already existing?
Okay.
You go further up and you back down into it.
But that's not what he's trying to get to here. If you're trying to do what Lloyd's asking you to try to do, you have to have two. You have to have.
He just said, "How do I get into the yard?" I'm saying you go up beyond the other end, and you back down into it. You're in the yard. It's an extra move.
You're right, semantically.
So basically, you're saying that I going back to the original plan where I'm bypassing the yard so I can back up, but that's not what I want to enter the yard.
That's right, from that far side. In that case, what you need is effectively 2 yard ladders. They're not 2 yard ladders, though. They just look like 2 ladders. So when you come off the helix, you can branch off into 4 tracks. And when you basically, and your other tracks were made on a separate ladder. So then you have the classification ladder, and you have the main line diverging into the two main lines and diverging into the arrival departure. Now, I might suggest that you not have two main lines going around the yard. Then your single track going around the yard is your bypass. There's no point in having a single track coming up the helix and having a double track going through the yard as a bypass. You're never going to have the density. It's a track that a train will never travel. So what I would do is treat one track, come up and have the main back track be your yard bypass track. That's just the main line through track. Bypass is a weird term, so we'll call it your main line through. Then your next two tracks are your arrival departure tracks. And what you need to do then is you need to break off with a single turnout, have a space between it and the next turnout, and have another turnout that breaks into those two arrival departures. Then you have the classification ladder over here. And off the last turnout of the classification ladder, you come down and tie in between where the main line breaks into the AD tracks, the arrival departure tracks, and where the arrival departure tracks split. So you'd come up off the main line, come up out of the helix, you'd have the main line, it would split. Your main line through would keep on going. Then you would have a turnout that comes back the other direction, that heads back up the classification ladder, and then past that turnout, you'd split into two ADs. So think about the two operations that matter, because it's all that matters is what trains are going to do. When you come off the helix, if you're going straight through, you stay all the way against the back and you go straight through. If you're going into the yard for some operation, you hook a left off that turnout, you go up into one of the two AD tracks, the arrival departure tracks, and you stop. Then the yard crew comes off the yard ladder and into one of those into the tail of your train on the AD tracks, makes his moves, clears your train by doing whatever, and then your train is ready to go again. But arrival departure tracks also do the second part of that name, departure. So we just treated it as an arrival. You also have departure, which means your crew needs to be able to take cars off the class tracks, off the classification tracks, and shove them into one of those other tracks and build a train there. Once you've built a train, you put power on it from the far side and you depart.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So I've got this passenger train that's coming from Ottawa and it's going to Montreal. So it's going to stay on the first track.
Absolutely.
It's bypassing everything.
That's right, straight up through.
Okay. Now you've got trains that are coming in from Ottawa to drop off or to pick up. Let's say to drop off, so they could take tracks 1 or 2 depending on what's going on, right?
That's right. And stop there. Yes.
And stop there, so that way the other one is still available. Okay. Now. Okay. And the other 4 tracks are.
Our classification tracks.
Yeah. Would the fourth one, let's say the one in the middle, be the departure track?
No. So arrival, departure do double duty, because a train that arrives that gets work done on it becomes a departing train. So they're doing the departure part. Also, if you're building a train, if you're originating a train, like you're building a train from scratch from the cars in the classification, you build it onto the arrival departure tracks and then it departs. But that's why arrival departure tracks, you don't have arrival tracks and departure tracks except in massively large yards. But in smaller prototype yards and in pretty much all model railroad yards, we treat AD tracks as double duty. They're both arrival and departure because.
Okay, so if I get this straight, like if you're building a train from scratch, you're building it right away on the departure track?
Absolutely. If it's going to leave right away. Now, if you're building, say you're building a cut of 5 or 6 cars that are going to go onto a train that is yet to arrive, if you have room in the yard, then you can build those 4 or 5, that cut is what you call it, or a block. You'd build that block on one of your classification tracks if you have room. That way you leave the arrival departure track free for the train that's going to arrive to take that. But if you're building a train from scratch, you're originating a train. You're building a local, for example. That's something you're going to do. If you're going to build a local, you're going to take cars off the class track, You're going to shove them onto the arrival departure track until you've got a train completely built. Then you're going to apply power to the front end of it, and you're going to depart.
Okay, so my last question would be, do I have to make a ladder here, or could they be 4 dead ends?
Well, if you want to do it the way you've suggested originally, then yes, you need a ladder there. And you need to hook that ladder to those other 2 tracks. And I can show you how to do that.
What other 2 tracks? You mean like the departure tracks?
Right. So the easy way to think about how to do that is take the first turnout you come to and separate it and take it about 1.5 foot up your other track. But I can show you that after the show. What we've got to do is hook your classification ladder to those other 2 tracks by injecting a turnout from the ladder to those 2 tracks after they leave the main line. And I'll doodle that out for you here in a second.
Okay, do me a little drawing after the show.
Sure
Okay,
thing.
I have a question for you too, Lloyd. And Andy's had his say. Now it's my turn. You talk about running RDCs, passenger trains, and so on. Is that going to be part of your operations that somebody's going to be controlling, or are you going to have them running off a program?
No, it's going to be somebody's going to be running it. Yeah.
Okay. So that means your train's going to go back and forth, or is it just going to be continuous?
Okay, if you let me just open the other one. Okay, my intention is that the one that's got let's say a new operator that doesn't know much like me.
Yeah.
The first thing
he'll get the passenger train.
He would get the passenger train, come up, let's say from Montreal, and go all around and back into the staging. Then his next job will be to come to St. Eugene, take the RDC, and bring it to Hawkesbury. Take a break for half an hour, then get back and take the RDC and bring it back to St. Eugene. His next job is to take a passenger train and bring it up from Montreal and go all around and back out. So that would be his night. So there would be one person controlling anything that's called passenger.
Okay. I thought if you were going to be running, say, an RDC, you can program it with the new decoders. You can program it to stop at a station, then continue and stop at the next station, and so on. And you don't even have to have an operator, but you need a loop to do that.
Yeah, well, for the RDC, it wouldn't be a loop because it would be from point A to point B. But the passenger train could be a loop because it's going to go down into staging, loop around, and come back up.
Okay.
But
I'm done.
I don't know. I'd rather have an operator, I guess.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. So my suggestion is change the throat to that yard in the opposite direction of what you've got there.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I see what he's working with.
So instead of going to the left, it'll go to the right,
Mm-hmm.
and then tie into...
Right, I see that now there.
But I don't think, personally, I would not take the mains out of that area that you want to take it out of. I would just leave them there. Don't use them, but I wouldn't take it out.
But if you're not going to use them, why do you want to keep them?
Future use.
Exactly.
I would disagree with what Ralph's saying. If you were talking about a track that was not in the yard, one of the biggest constraints we have as model railroaders is that our yards are massively too doggone small.
Yep.
If you have a piece of continuous running trackage elsewhere on your layout, like down in the bottom left-hand corner or at the bottom of the brewery, by all means keep the tracks there probably for the sake of continuous running or whatever. If they're not a part of your operating scheme, so be it. When it comes to a yard, we need basically every square inch and basically every track we can get, and then a whole bunch more. Ask any yard master at any model railroad operating session, and they'll always tell you that the yard is about half the size that it really should be, even for the small operations that we do on model railroad.
Yeah, and you're running basically a flat layout, and you could theoretically, even though you don't want to do it with mainline, but you can run your yard or use those tracks as part of the yard to move back and forth to have longer trains.
Okay, let me. Okay, so that what you're saying is that that little piece here. Okay.
You said you're taking it out.
I'm taking this out and taking this out. So what you're saying is to keep it in so that we have connection, right?
Yeah, and you can use it as part of the yard. If you're not using it for continuous loop, use it as part of the yard.
Well, you're going to have to. I think in basically any arrangement I could think of, you're going to use the track that you're highlighted down there that Ralph's talking about. You're going to use it as a yard lead. That's going to be the lead that you pick from the class tracks to put on the departure track, or that you pick from the arrival track to pull off into the class tracks. Either way, you're going to have to use it. You're going to need that yard lead.
But you guys are talking about continuous, like it's continuous loop. But I do have a continuous loop once it goes inside the helix, and there's a loop.
I agree. But all I'm saying is, if you leave it in place, use it as a longer yard lead.
You need
it. You
have
can
to
run trains back and forth into those 4 tracks.
You have to have it as a yard lead regardless. You have to basically overlap the yard lead with the far end of the railroad. Yes, they in theory should be 50 miles apart, but that's just one of the compromises we make as model railroads. And then that yard lead does double duty when your layout is just continuous running for fun or demonstrating when you have visitors or whatever. Your yard lead functions as a continuous running extension. But then under normal operations, it functions as a yard lead.
I tell you what, we have run over. I think this would be a good place to put a stopping point. And what we'll do is, Lloyd, if you don't mind, next Thursday, we'll come back and see how this got resolved.
Oh, and that gives us a week for any black eyes to heal or anything. If this gets
yeah.
IMRRO is asking, is this an operation plan layout? This, Lloyd, the plan was done by the track planner for you?
Yeah.
And what we were looking at was the actual plan that he came up with.
However, in Bill Broderick's defense, it was not originally designed to be Operation City.
We don't have to defend anything. The question was, is that the way it was designed for him?
Well, that's what we're trying to. But what I think he's getting at is why Lloyd is having to make these adjustments to get it to an operational state where Bill Broderick didn't originally design it for linear style operations because it wasn't originally the goal. But Lloyd, I think this is a
typical engineer's answer.
Well, this is a very good teaching point for all the rest of model railroaders. If you design a railroad that is meant just to run train guard and you decide to get more and more and more in your operations, it's very challenging. But if you design from it's just one of these teaching moments that you can have. But if you'll design with operations in mind, then it's very easy to also enjoy running the layout but have operations in. It's harder to back up and fix things. Although I will say, Lloyd has done so in just about every way so far, and with this one last change for solving the helix problem, he now has he could potentially have a perfectly linear railroad.
Okay, here we go. So, Eric, tune in next Thursday. Yeah, let's see how it got resolved. All right, with that said,
In the meantime, keep your eyes out for black ice.
yeah. We're still in our off season. I'm not sure Bill has got anyone lined up for this month for his show or not. He may have run off to a desert island for a while. I'm not sure. But anyway, everybody be safe. Have a good weekend. And we shall see you next Thursday. So until then, try and be cool, stay dry, and keep off the railroad tracks.
Exactly.
You will get ran over. All right, have a good evening. We'll see y'all later. And thanks for coming in for sure.